Hi, guys, and welcome to episode 8 of Honestly Alice. I hope you guys really enjoyed the episode I had last week with Damon. It was such a great time, having him answer those questions. Ladies, I hope you're satisfied. Gentlemen, I also hope you got an insight into, the world of ladies. But, as we know, this is Ask Honestly Alice segment. And we now have my permanent co-host, Geo, with me answering these questions. So, hello, Geo.
Hello. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. Funny thing is, people keep asking me when you're going to come back, or they keep talking, about, the episode we had now a month ago. And I was just like, wait, I need to, bring Geo back permanently. So you're back by people's demand.
That is always a great feeling.
Yeah, I'm glad. So let's hope that you can, keep that going, because I will be the first one to drop you if I feel like you're not giving your all. But, I know that you'll give 100.
How do you know they don't want you to just take it over?
Because this isn't Geo Speaks. This is Ask Honestly Alice. The show is Honestly Alice. It didn't turn into, maybe Geo or, I can help you make a show. I can help you, write a script, and we can come up with all that stuff. That's fine. But this is not a takeover. No, not on my watch.
All right. We'll see about that one.
Okay, so this is question time, and, I feel like at this point we don't need to, talk to people about, what this is all about. We'll just start, right? So we got a bunch of questions that were sent in, and they're all in, various orders. So we'll just start with the first one that we got sent in, and it's about crushes. The question is, how do you handle crushes as Christians or in general? Are they okay, and is it healthy?
Yeah, I love that question. I think the way I would start it is saying, what is actually a crush? What is the definition of it? And, according to my good old friend Webster, a crush is...
How is dear Webster?
A crush is a strong feeling of romantic love for someone that is usually not expressed and does not last a long time. So when I read that, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I got the part of the romantic love, and I know that is normally not expressed. Whether you're Christian or you're not Christian, I think the thing that I would say about it is, if you have feelings for somebody, you need to really make sure it's legitimate, it's real, not something where you're like, hey, well, today because it's Tuesday, I want to go and I like this person, but tomorrow, that's not my flavor. And I think that's very important that you make sure that you check your feelings to make sure that they are real. And then if they are, then tell the person so. When the definition says it's usually not expressed, that's the part that's unhealthy, that you don't tell the person you like them. And then you wonder why our friendship is weird and why they filed a restraining order on me. It's because you acted weird. You didn't say anything. So I think it's, and I had the same situation with my wife. We was friends and was buddy and everything.
She filed a restraining order against you?
No, hold on a second. No, she didn't do that. But what I'm saying is I had a crush on her and things like that, and I started to like her, and I told her I liked her, and it wasn't the best time to tell her because she was in a relationship, but I had to tell her. You had to tell her the truth, and it led to help. It was uncomfortable for a little bit, but I think it's very important that if you do have a crush, let somebody know. And I've heard from a lot of women that they get frustrated with that.
But here's the interesting thing, because we had a similar question with Damon last week, and the women asked, if you like a guy, should you either be the first one to approach him or to tell him? And Damon was just a lot of guys, they don't like that. It's a turn off to them. And here you are saying, tell your crush. It's easy for a guy to go and tell a girl, right? But as a girl, is it okay to go be like, hey, I kind of have a crush on you?
No, I mean, I guess I'm definitely answering that question from a male perspective. How the guy would approach it. I mean, if a girl told me, and I'll never forget that. I left my parents' building one day, and this girl was sitting out on the stoop, and she was like, yo, I'm feeling you. And honestly, I didn't even know what to say. Like I was like, don't tell me that. This is against all the rules. So I mean, I agree with Damon in the sense of it's a little bit different for women. With women, it's like almost like you kind of gotta give a hint, but you can't really say it because you want to let the guy do it. But I think a lot of times where we lose it, and this is just going all completely off topic, but I think with women, when you show like you kind of have an interest, so I think sometimes you like play hard to get, and I think that women play that game a little bit too well, where the guy doesn't even know it's a game anymore. He's like, she don't like me, and I think so that's a little bit different. But from a guy's perspective, I think if you got a crush on somebody, definitely, let them know. And I think if you're a female and you have a crush on somebody, then you might need to, I wouldn't tell the guy directly, but I would definitely figure out who's in his camp and plant a seed so that it doesn't come directly from you.
But here's the interesting thing. When I read this question, I was just like, okay, it's a great question, but one thing that is not mentioned is, do you know the person, right? Because most of the time you have a crush on somebody that you don't know. So you have a crush on what you're seeing from the outside. So it could be, because we all have like celebrity crushes, or it could be, if you're a Christian, somebody in the church that you're seeing, but it's because, you see them often. They may be, a worship leader or a pastor or whatever. Like, this is someone that you're seeing, but it's just like, you don't really know them. You know their name because you hear it often, you see their social media account, but you couldn't be able to tell me, what their favorite meal is. You probably don't even have their number on the phone. That's the first thing that came to mind, is that you usually have crushes on people that you don't know. So you're only seeing things from a outside perspective, but you end up liking people that you know. Because when you have a friend and you like them, you're not just like, oh, I have a crush on so-and-so. You're just like, oh, I like so-and-so, because you actually know them. You have that conversation with them, and it's not the generic, hey, how are you? Good to see you. Okay, it's like you're having like deep, real, meaningful conversations that last past the how are you. So that was my first thing when I saw it, was just like, we need to be able to distinguish between a crush and like, because I honestly think that like crushing is on someone that you do not know and you believe that you know them, and you're only seeing their best foot forward, because on social media, it has allowed us to put our best foot forward. You always see someone like, for a woman, for a guy, he can crush on a woman and be like, oh my goodness, like she's so beautiful, but it's just like, have you seen her without makeup? Like you're seeing what she's putting out. You're seeing her on her best days. You're not seeing her when she's mad. You're not seeing her when she's pissed. You're not seeing her in her different elements and in her different moods, So like with it, that's how I feel it's easy to have a crush on someone, because you're only seeing their best foot.
Yeah, and that's why they don't last long, because you don't really know. So when the definition says, it typically doesn't last long. It doesn't last long, because once you see the real, you know the deal. That rhymes.
You better go patent that. Once you see the real, you know the deal. Okay, second question is about modesty. What is modest today in 2016 American culture? Crop tops / midriff showing, is that modest or immodest? And also, what are your thoughts on Megan Good? Was that woman telling her to cover up right or wrong? Is it okay to be a fairly modest woman regularly, but dressed slightly provocative in pictures for a role or magazine covers? There is a lot of questions in this one question.
Yeah,
okay, so
I would say, well, first of all, if I had six-pack abs, I wouldn't wear a shirt. I'll tell you that right now. If I had six-pack abs, I would not be modest. I would be walking.
You would just. Oh, okay.
I just want to make a confession. Like, that's the truth. Like, that's why I don't have it.
These are your confessions.
But honestly, when I think about the modesty in American culture today, I don't really know it. I don't really pay attention to it so much. But what I would say is that wearing little to nothing is like going to the movies and during the previews, they show you the whole entire movie instead of just a preview. And so what are the odds of you going to pay for that movie after the fact when it comes out, if you already saw the whole thing? So I would say it's almost the same way when it comes to the way you dress. If you show me everything, then there's no need for me to stick around long term. So I think that you have to understand what ultimately it means long term for you if you're dressing a certain way. But I think when you talk about the Megan Good situation and what happened, and I didn't get a chance to see the video, but I know I spoke to my wife last night about it, and we was talking in detail about the whole Megan Good thing. What I would say is the environment in which that conversation took place may not have been the right place for that conversation to have happened.
Okay, so just so you know, I actually pulled up the transcript from it, and what happened is Megan Good and her husband, Devon Franklin, they've written a book called The Wait, and they were being interviewed, and they opened it up to the public for questions, and this woman got up and she said, "You were beautiful. I'm going to say something to you. This is not offensive," and anytime somebody says this is not offensive, usually it is. Yep. Just a side note. But I was at a grocery store and I looked at a newsstand and I saw you and you had your breasts showing. So I wasn't going to come here. I wasn't. But the Lord brought me here to see you. And you are a beautiful young woman and your testimony is awesome. Amen. And the Lord let me come and push that judgment and push past that judgment. And this is real. You have to make sure that what you say and what you do match up. You do understand. So we're going to cover up, right? And it ends there. And then Devon Franklin just goes in. Clap back was crazy. He's just my wife can dress however she wants in the name of Jesus, So that's a transcript of what was said.
That's good to get the transcript, to get the whole thing. And I think it's also, we have to acknowledge that, where a person is. So, somebody you act like Megan Good's been a Christian for the last 20 years. You know what I'm saying? It's she has to have the right to develop as well and to have her own convictions. I think when you go ahead and say, well, this is the way it's supposed to go, that's not fair. That's like telling a child you're supposed to walk at 6 months and that's a code, and if you don't do it, then you're an idiot or something's wrong with you. It's everybody grows differently, and we have to respect that. And I think, I like the fact that you read the transcript, because it does definitely sound like the person was not trying to come from a very hurtful place. But at the same time, I'm always of the philosophy of earn the right to criticize me. And so, with the way I look at it is,
I like that.
If you don't know me, then your opinion, you should reserve your opinion to some degree, because I think, my best friends, they know they could call me out on anything, but they've earned that right. You've been my friend for 10, 20 years. You could go and say that, but for a complete stranger to come and, you don't know me from A to Z, and you want to come and tell me all the stuff that I'm going through, you don't know my story. You only see what you only see what I'm letting you see, and I understand that. She's in the magazine covers and things like that, but I think, again, her conviction is hers, and you have to let her work through that. And I don't really see the purpose.
I get everything that you're saying, but I think the issue is Megan Good is she's a public figure, right? The same way how Obama is the president. Whether or not you know Obama, if he does something that is not in line with what he's saying, then you're just going to be like, what are you talking about? The same way how Obama's like, we're going to get the troops out of Iraq. If he didn't do that, people would be like, what are you doing? And I think the issue here is Megan Good she is a Christian, but here she is in an instant where she is not being, she's not carrying herself in a Christian way. She is showing too much of her body, but it's because that's in the industry, that she's in. So, I think she's looking at it from an outsider perspective as is this what Christianity is like? Is it okay in the Christian realm for a woman to be oh, I'm holy and I serve my God, but I'm still going to show my body for money. Because that's basically like if you're on a magazine cover, you're getting paid. You're not just doing it to do, So I think that's what the issue is. But, you also raised a good point earlier that, if you're seeing most of it, you're probably not going to pay for it. But the first thing that came to mind is, what's the difference of, being at the beach and being, at a restaurant? You're seeing everything when you're at the beach, but nobody's just like, oh, my God, you need to cover up. Everyone's just like, oh, I like your swimsuit. I like your bikini. It's like, why is it that it's acceptable to dress certain ways in certain environments, but if you carry that into another environment, it's frowned upon? Because it is okay for you to wear barely nothing at the beach. But if you're wearing beach clothes in a regular setting, people look at you crazy.
Yeah, but I think if you're looking at a magazine cover, like, so you want the person who's on the cover of the swimsuit edition to wear something other than a swimsuit? Like, I don't I don't understand. Everything is always, hindsight is 2020, right? So it's like looking at it and say, like, if it's a swimsuit edition, I'm supposed to wear a swimsuit. Now, if you want to tell her, don't take these certain gigs, then okay, but then provide her with the income that she would have made from that gig. Like, it's easy to say that in a moment. And what about the fact that we're to honor our commitments as well? So what if she made a commitment to that 3 years ago? And now we're looking at it now and we're like, oh my gosh, no. But what if she says, okay, you know what? I made a commitment. The Bible says also, your word is your word, right? I'm paraphrasing. But, that's something that we have. So I'm not saying that, okay, well, if she said, she was going to shoot something that was very, very bad, clearly she might change her mind. But what I'm saying is that if there's a gray area and she made a commitment to do it, then I can't really knock her for it. I always say when people say, yo, you shouldn't be doing this, I'm like, okay, it's fine. So pay the person the $20,000 they got for just taking a picture. Show them. We look at celebrities. How could you sell pictures of your baby on to People magazine for $1 million? Well, okay, tell me another way to make $1 million. So I always, my biggest philosophy in life is put yourself in the other person's shoes before you want to go and throw stones and all this stuff like that, and give them the benefit of the doubt most of the time, and obviously I'm going to say, hey, well, somebody went ahead, like I saw this video of this kid beating up a Chinese guy who was delivering food in his building, and that video was very disgusting to see these kids scream world star, and they punch the guy and beat him up and things like that. As much as I think it's a horrible thing that they did, I still put myself in the young man's shoes to say, why? Why did you do it? I'm not all of like, oh my God, you put him in jail right now and never let him out, like throw away the key. I'm saying he should pay for his actions, but I also want to know. But there's always a backstory. Yeah, why? Like, when you a world star, like, where are you missing attention that you needed to do this and it's being captured? And why the people who are recording it think it's okay to go and beat up somebody that's completely regular? Like, what if I told them that, okay, your mom went to work and she's a nurse and she got to make food, put food on the table for you, but somebody just randomly decides, you know what, today is beat up on Nurses Day for no reason, just outside of, I think it's funny. I think I can get attention for it. So I think I always try to put myself in the person's shoes. And when I see that, I just got to have to pray for them, man, because I think people are so numb, to things. But, yeah, we need to talk about that another time. But that I think putting yourself in we definitely do. Is big. Yeah, but I think the thing, I was having this conversation with someone at Trader Joe's the other day as I was checking out, and I was just like, one thing a lot of people don't realize is that as humans, we only notice the flaws in others that we have in ourselves, right? So if you're a woman that is trying to lose weight, you will notice all the women who are skinnier than you or bigger than you. You will point that out. If you are a guy that has acne and you're trying to clear your acne, you will notice all the guys who either have it or you don't. You only notice things which are a part of you. So if you have body issues, you will see the body issues in somebody else.
And I think, as you're saying, there's always a backstory. I would be curious, one, to see what this woman looks like and to know her story. Because out of all the things, she didn't ask about why do you take roles in acting, where you're this type of woman. Like, she was very specific. She asked about how she looked on the cover of a magazine. So it's just like there is something in you that is by you seeing that magazine that has triggered something that isn't sitting comfortable with you, that you thought it was okay for you to give your $5 worth of opinion, not even 2 cents on it. But, that's just a side note. Okay, let's move forward. Next question. Kesha may not be for everyone, but no one deserves the pain she has been through. What are your thoughts on the verdict the judge gave her in her trial? Okay, just so before you answer, for people who don't know, if you may or may not remember, Kesha first came out in 2010. Wow, I was still an undergrad, with the song TikTok, and her most recent song was in 2013 with Pitbull. It was Timber. We going down. I'm yelling timber, yeah. When I was just like, oh my goodness, I forgot that Kesha was in that. But this is what happened. So Kesha, her producer, Dr. Luke. So this is actually a transcript from the Rolling Stone, and it said, Dr. Luke had sexually, physically, verbally, and emotionally abused Miss Sebert, who's Kesha, to the point where Kesha nearly lost her life, all in the service of his being able to maintain complete control over her life and career. Later on, it goes to say that the judge didn't take the juncture, and she said that no evidence to support her assertion that the agreements were not entered into freely or voluntarily as a result of arm's length negotiations.
Yeah, I read up on it, and I think it's just truly unfortunate that case that it is what it is. With her, I think I would have. I look at it, and again, I put myself in everybody's shoes, and I look at a judge and say, okay, well, if I'm the judge, what does the law, I have to go in, my job is to rule according to the law. And when he does that, to say, okay, well, is there a way for her to get out of this contract that is legal, based on the law of the letter of whatever was written in that contract? And what I find unfortunate is that these allegations are true. I would have hoped, I don't know, but I would have hoped the judge would have tried to find any loophole or any way to get her out of it. But I can't say that. I don't know the judge. I don't know what process they went through. But what I will say is that I'm definitely fortunate that she's receiving industry support. Taylor Swift donated $250,000 to her.
She did.
And I think that's cool to see people in the industry support her. And I'm really hoping that there'll be a mutual agreement. And I, as a person on the other side of the fence, whoever signed that contract, dude, if you did this, you need to cut your losses. You need to, you're lucky no charges was pressed, with filed on it. But it just sucks. It sucks. And I think what we need to do and understand is keep it real in the beginning of things and understand that if something seems almost too good to be true, it probably is. And a lot of people fall into this trap when it comes to trying to get their dreams to come true, is that once somebody throws them something that looks like exactly what they want, they just say yes without looking at everything inside, what that really entails, to do your homework and things like that. So, I think, I'm praying for Kesha, and I'm hoping that, a resolution will come in place where the two parties could make a mutual agreement, and she could really get, more importantly, the healing that she needs, because I think that's more important than even the money or the ability to make free music, is that she still has to go with the thoughts that she has.
Yeah, and I think the saddest thing about it, for me, being a woman, having read this, is, it's very frowned upon, not only in the Western culture, but also back home in anywhere in the motherland, to talk about any type of physical or sexual abuse to women. And, the fact that she has come out and said that it's happening, and here is a judge to say we don't have evidence, that there's no supporting hospital documents or things like that. It's disheartening, because it's just for for that woman or that girl who has gone through something similar, when they see that even with fame the process doesn't work, it makes you sit back and be like, what's the point of me saying something? Because it's just like, I'll suddenly be told I don't have the evidence. Like, what do people expect, that now women are going to like record stuff on their phone and be like, look, he raped me? Like, no, like, you don't know when these things are going to happen. And when it does happen, usually they make you, as the victim, they'll silence you to the point where you can't even come out and talk about it. And considering that Kesha is a public figure, if she was to have gone to a hospital, or even if she did, anytime anyone from the public figure ends up in some, in the hospital or in jail or in the police force, anything that requires public record, it's suddenly out there in the open. So we have no idea whether she may have had a private doctor that was treating her and was just like, I don't want to go to a hospital because it's going to suddenly leak that, oh, Kesha's checked into, whatever, like Greystone, whatever hospital it is, and so I think the fact that she was even bold enough, and it took her 10 years, because she's saying this has been happening for 10 years. It took her 10 years to come out and say this is happening, and then to be told there's no evidence to support this. It's like, what do you expect? What do you expect her to do? You in such an instance, even though there is a contract, you can't really bring up evidence. You know what I'm saying? You can't pull up a footage and be like, look, this is how it went down. Which is unfortunate. And I think I would have hoped that the case was ruled in her favor. I would have, because I think that with it being ruled against her, it's just taking us back in time. We're in the 21st century. We shouldn't have to be fighting about such things, not in the court of law. You know what I'm saying? But that's just how I saw it, as being a female who was fortunate enough to even live in the Western Hemisphere, and I don't even have fame, so like, I truly feel for her, and I feel for all the women who have been following this and following her story and are seeing that even with her fame and who she is, she's still being kept in her contract. She's still being made to work with her abuser, which is just, it's sickening. And that's just my 2 cents on it.
Agreed.
Okay. So, wow. Time is really going slow. Okay, we have time
we
for...
We got to go rapid fire.
More.
I want to get as many questions we could do.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to skip... Okay, no, fine. Do you believe that Beyonce should issue an apology for her anti-police images in her video and her tribute to a racist hate group, the Black Panthers?
I do not believe so. I think she didn't break a law. We have that First Amendment for a reason, and she used it. That's pretty simple answer.
And just for clarification, the Black Panthers were created for self-defense, and they were constantly, so the two revolutionary men, Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, created it in 1966. They created the organization as a way to collectively combat white oppression after constantly seeing Black people suffer from the torturous practices of police officers around the nation. Newton and Seale helped to form the pioneering Black liberation group to help build community and confront corruption systems of power, just so people know what the Black Panther is. Okay, next question. Who would you like to be president?
Barack Obama.
I say we go for Obama term 3.
Yeah, can he run again? Can we change?
I would love to.
By the way, did you see the video of the young girl who cried because Obama won't be president?
Oh my, yes, she said she wasn't ready for him to leave.
Yeah, that was crazy. And I'd say to myself, when was the last time you saw something like that? Like, I know people who would cry if we had a past president reelected, but nothing like that. But honestly, I'm not too aware of the candidates. Here's what I do know. I know who I don't want to be president, and that's good old Donald Trump.
Okay. Let's see. Who do I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. This is going to be a tough one. I have until November to make up my mind. Okay, next question. What is something you overcame that you never thought you would?
I would say it was there was a time in my life, it was one of the hardest years I ever went through. I lost my girlfriend and my job in the same year. And so I didn't really see that much light at the end of the tunnel. But what I would tell you is that a friend of mine told me something that probably really changed my perspective on it. And it was, when you're going through the hardest things in your life, try to find someone else who's in a tough situation and help them out of it. And what's amazing about it is when you help others in those situations, it's crazy how God seems to rush to your aid. So, but that was one thing. It was a state of depression for like 9 months, and I did not see how I was going to get out of that one.
Rough. Let's see. Mine was graduate school, and that's all I'm going to say. Next question. Okay, what do you tell a friend who always exaggerates her encounters with men to you? Lord, us women.
Yeah.
Sometimes go.
I would say I won't tell them anything, and here's why. You need to stop giving your friend a platform so they can go and do that. So if they know you're listening, they'll keep talking. So when you stop engaging in the conversation, they'll get a clue that maybe this person doesn't want to hear this no more. Because as far as I'm concerned, the person probably thinks that they're doing you a favor by providing entertainment because you're tuning into the show.
Hey, don't give them your time of day. They're wasting your time.
Yep.
Okay, that's a good answer. I like that. Okay, we're going through these quick. Okay. People grow in relationships. What if in that growth you realize quite a few traits of your partner that you now wish were different, seeing as you signed up for them in the first place?
It depends on the relationship.
This is all you.
Yeah, well, if it's a marriage, that's a commitment. Like you're not going nowhere. Like you're gonna have to adjust. If you're dating someone, then I would say you do have the right to change your mind. Like that you didn't, courting, dating, whatever terminology you want to use. I think you don't have to stay in a relationship if you don't like the changes. However, I will warn you, if you're in a relationship that doesn't have growth, it's more likely going to get boring and stale. I look at the changes as a challenge. It's supposed to be different. The person's not supposed to stay the same. Imagine if you had a baby and the baby never grew up past 1 year old. You would hate it.
No.
Right? But there's changes too. Hey, you're supposed to be cute forever. You're not supposed to grow up and have your own opinions. That's not the case. I think that naturally we should understand and say this person should grow. And you should have these core things where you're like, okay, this is non-negotiable. Like this has to stay the same. But I think if it's a person's character or personality, that should grow and that should change over time. So if you see that and you don't like those traits, I think obviously you talk about it. But I think you don't ever want to change someone and tell them they can't be this or they can't be that. Or I don't necessarily like the fact that like all of a sudden you like to say. You like to speak up now, but back then, what if they were shy to do that or they didn't feel empowered to do it? Now all of a sudden they got an opinion and you want to tell them I don't like it? Like, what does that say to you? That says that you don't really care what they think. You just like the fact that they just stayed quiet. That's not necessarily a good recipe for a successful relationship.
Those are good points. I think the thing for me, when I start this question, you realize, and the thing that stood out, in that growth, you realize quite a few traits of your partners you now wish were different. The question is, are you okay living with that? Is it something that it's a ticking time bomb? Where it's just like, okay, this is okay for now, but if they keep doing it, one day I'm going to snap. I think you really need to sit down and ask yourself, like, are these traits going to end up being detrimental to our relationship, or is it something that I'm okay with? Because if those traits are like little drops of water, eventually it's going to cause a puddle, and eventually it's going to your house is going to flood, you know? So if it's just little drops that are meaning nothing to you, they clearly meant nothing then, but the more you're with this person, it sounds like you're already in a puddle, right? Because for you to bring up that these are things that you now wish were different, that means that you noticed them at the beginning, but you were hopeful that they would either die off or evolve into something else, but they may have actually evolved into something worse. So I think you ultimately need to sit down and ask yourself, is this something that I'm okay with, and is it in line with who I am? You know, so say, for example, if you're with someone who, you know, feels a certain way about religion. You know, say you're religious and you're both Christian, right? You're in one denomination, someone else is in another, but they feel strongly about your denomination and they keep talking about it. That's something where you'd be like, you know, eventually it's going to get to you. You know, if you're from two different cultures, you know, and someone is always talking down about your culture, then, you know, you'd be like, you know, I feel like it gets to something where it's just like, is it messing with who you are at your core? Are those traits affecting who you are and who you can be? And if they're not, then you probably are just with them too much. You know, it could also be something where when you're with someone for so long, the smallest things really start to get to you. And it's just like, you may just need some time apart. So maybe it is that you just need to hang out with different people apart from each other. You know, like if you're living together, then maybe you need to hang out with more friends, or maybe, you know, I don't know what the situation is with this person, but I think they need to ultimately sit down and say, are these traits worth being changed? Are they going to affect the relationship, or are they going to change me in the relationship and make me become something that I'm not? And then I think once you have those answers, you'll be able to figure out the best way. Yeah. Okay, last question. What is your view on Beyonce's Super Bowl performance and Kendrick Lamar's Grammy performance this month?
Well, I mean, I think I saw the images online of, like, you know, like the similarities to, like, the outfits and the stuff that Michael Jackson had, so I definitely like that about those two. But, you know, I love me some Michael. And honestly, I believe that, you know, they use a platform to go and convey a message. And I think, you know, it's great when you have celebrities go and use a platform to go and speak on something other than themselves. So I like that part of it. My only thing about it is that, was the message conveyed very well? And so are we really talking about the issue, or are we still talking about the fact that they did this on this stage? And that's my biggest concern. And I always think that true change comes from conviction. And what I think has happened is that the conversation that needs to be had is not really happening.
Okay. Explain more.
So when I look at Kendrick Lamar's performance, I think it was amazing and it was great, and I like the stage that it was on. But what was he trying to say, and are we talking about it? And I think the thing is, when we look at it, I look at it from a standpoint of who exactly are we trying to get to talk about it. So if you're creating a video and it's about African Americans and police brutality and, you know, things of that nature, are African Americans already talking about it and we're trying to get those who are not African Americans to talk about it? Because then if that's the case, then I'm wondering, what was the end goal? Is it just, you know, because sometimes we're like, hey, we just want to just create awareness. And I feel like that's like taking a basketball and getting close to the basket, but not actually making it the shot. It's like, okay, well, creating awareness. Like, but what are the next steps? And sometimes we open doors and it's not very clear how we're supposed to walk through them. And I think that's my biggest concern with stuff like that, is that who did we want to have the conversation with, and are they even communicating with us about the things that we're trying to say?
That's wow. That is good, and I think, but don't you think that their performances opened up the opportunity to have those conversations?
Yes, but what I'm saying is, who did it open up the conversation with? So if you and I are talking about it, is that who we really want to talk about it, or do we want the police to talk about it? No, seriously. Like, I think like, if we talk about police brutality, did you hear any cops come out and talk about it? No. But that's who we were trying to talk to. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if we're having these conversations, okay, great. So now everyone who feels like that they were described, or Beyonce or Kendrick Lamar spoke on their behalf, they go ahead and talk to who about it? Themselves? I think it's good to open the door. But what I'm saying is, it's a start, but it's not the end. And I think if we're talking about police brutality, then what did those things say that tells the commissioner of the police? And, let's say NYPD. The commissioner of the NYPD is not going to go and say anything. All we heard was Mayor Giuliani say it's a shame that Beyonce used that type of platform to go and get a message out. And I think, honestly, that shows a little bit of ignorance on his part. But at the same time, I think it doesn't. I don't know if it made the right people have the conversation. And I think, honestly, these are artists, and they use their platform the best that they know how. I don't think that Beyonce necessarily knows exactly how to go and talk to police commissioners and get them to change their mind. She did the best that she could through the gift that she's been given to be an entertainer.
I agree with you. I liked both of them. I think you did mention a very good point that they are artists. I think it's very interesting that, we should not be able to pick and choose what an artist and how an artist chooses to express themselves. Like, why is it okay that, Black artists can, sing about songs that are bashing each other, but suddenly if they're talking about actual things that are happening to their communities, then it's just like, oh my gosh, this is a whole hoopla about it. Like, why? Like, we, as an artist, they should not be limited into how they want to express themselves. And if that's how they want to express themselves, then I think it is okay. None of them said, let's all, gang up together, get guns, and let's all go shoot down the police. They did not say that. They're literally just bringing awareness to an issue that did not start yesterday, that's probably not going to end tomorrow or anytime soon, but they're just bringing awareness because that is the platform that they have. And they brought it, one, during Black History Month. You can't be mad at them about that. But two, they brought them at the most, widely watched platforms. It wasn't happening at like the BET Awards. It wasn't happening at a random baseball game. It happened at two very watched occasions in America and also around the world, just to show that even though we may be artists, we still feel, but we're also very cognizant of what is happening, and we are trying to give voice and give light to those who have tried to do that, but their voices have been muted and have been silenced. But in terms of artistry, I think that it's perfectly okay what they've done. I don't think they've done anything wrong, and I'm not even a Beehive fan. Like, I'm not a diehard Beyonce fan.
You're not?
I think her performance was great. Nah, I'm not. My roommate is. My roommate is, but I've never seen her in concert. I think I only own one of her albums, and that was like the Beyonce that came out when she randomly just like dropped an album at midnight, But other than that, I've never owned a Beyonce. I've never owned anything else from Beyonce. I've never bought any of Kendrick Lamar's like music. I haven't. I think what they do is great, but that's just not my type of music. I'm still stuck in the 90s. I still listen to my Casey and JoJo. My Boyz II Men. I'm stuck in that era. Don't blame me. That's just what I like. And it's not that I'm jamming to like Misfit or Hillsong. That's. I sidetrack. But I think what they did is okay, and I think that ultimately what needs to happen is people need to ask themselves, why is it that if their performance offended you, why is it that it offends you? What is it about you that when you watched it made you feel funny, you know. But I think conversations need to be happen. I think maybe we should be bold enough as honestly Alice as Geo Speaks to maybe be like, hey, we need to get some police officers on the show and ask them maybe in our next segment to be like, how do you guys feel about it as law enforcement? What was your take on it? You know, maybe that's what we should do. Maybe we've been given that platform to take the conversation to the next level. What do you think?
I don't know about that one.
You just said that the conversations need to happen, right? As people who...
But when I would say, and then it's no different than, okay, well, there's a reason why police don't like coming to the media, because they know what type of questions they're going to ask. And the police officer, their job is to be police officers. They're not so well-versed in their communication. And I think what I would say is, do you know a person who's a friend who's a police officer? I know someone who's a police officer, and when I speak to them, I know that's not their thought process. They also express to me the fact that, you know, and this is the thing that doesn't get shine light on a lot. When I spoke to my friend who's a police officer, he shared with me that, Geo, when I wake up in the morning, there's no guarantee that I'm coming back where I came from. So there's no guarantee I'm coming back home. Now that's two-sided. That's a two-way street. So it shouldn't be, but that's what they signed up for. That they have a job that puts them in risk. Like just like firefighters run into fires where people try to run away from them. Police officers run to dangerous situations typically, and unfortunately, too many times we've seen situations where they've been the people that have made them more dangerous, like kind of in a sense, you know, because of the actions that they take. But I'm thinking again, when we think about the way Megan Good's situation came out and all things, is that understanding start with where you are. So you can go and call up and say, hey, we're looking for police officers who want to defend police and speak their voice. You're not finding anybody answering that call. But I think when you go in and befriend them, because I grew up wanting to be a police officer. Like my back of my library card, I drew NYPD on it because I didn't look at them as a threat. And nowadays we look at them and say, well, what are you gonna do? And I've experienced issues where like racism and things like that. But I think again we need to understand the whole picture and understand. Like, listen, a police officer is not gonna come on a person's show. They'll have the commissioner go and speak on their behalf because the commissioner has all the rhetoric and knows how to say something without really actually saying something. So the police officer knows that they might say something that might go and cause them more trouble, so they actually stay quiet. And I think if this is something where in the future you want to have a police officer on the show, then the one thing is that it has to be as welcoming as possible for them to understand that we just want to go and communicate the perspective that never gets communicated. Like, I know Commissioner Kelly is not the only person that has an opinion on what's happening with police brutality and things like that. So I'm not saying I never would want to talk about it. I do have those conversations with friends of mine who are police officers, and I think we need to attack the problem with one person at a time and not always trying to go and run to the media to do the work that we should be doing ourselves.
True. And that's all the time we have with all these questions. Wow, these questions are great. I just want to say thank you, Geo, for being a permanent co-host. You're still not taking over. This is still Honestly Alice, but you can have a semi-show once a month with me. Keyword with me, not by yourself. But thank you guys so much for listening. We truly appreciate you guys sending in your questions. We hope you enjoyed them. If you think of other questions, honestly, don't wait until the end, the third episode of every month to send them in. Just keep sending them in. We'll pile up the questions, and I'll see you next week. I'm Alice. That was Geo. Say bye, Geo.
Later, y'all.
This is Honestly Alice, and may your dream become your reality. Bye.